Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 574: The Impact of Thoughtlessness and Rejection, Part 4. How Indecision and Unrighteousness Defeat Righteousness in Your Heart. The podcast objectives are: reveal what happens if you fail to upgrade your spiritual values, reveal the updated strategy the enemy uses in spiritual warfare, reveal how the enemy turns your heart against you, and analyze the impact of indecision within your heart. Welcome. Now, before we begin today's lesson, I would like to welcome all my beloved brothers and sisters in Yahushua Messiah who have been scattered to the four corners of the earth, who Yahuwah has joined to this ministry for such a time as this. I would also like to welcome anyone who is engaging our podcasts or videos for the first time. We trust you were led by the set apart spirit in finding us. And if you continue to be led, we hope you stay with us, for these are troubling times and an evil day is just ahead. To this end, if you are watching this video on YouTube and you have not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button below and you will be alerted whenever we post new videos. Also, if you have any questions at the conclusion of this video, you can ask them using the link in the podcast description below the video player. Last but not least, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up so YouTube can share it with believers like us. If you upgrade your spiritual values. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 577 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we completed our analysis of the impact of imprudence and amorality within your heart. And here is what we learned. The greatest damage done to your heart is transacted by these two degrees. Not only this, but the transaction of imprudence and amorality occurs at a single location, i.e., the sensory region of your physical heart. Now, if you're wondering why this is the case, in addition to everything you learned in the most recent podcast, I'll tell you it's because imprudence and amorality eliminate your spiritual values. Now, I have said a great deal about spiritual values in prior podcasts, and trust me, it was all good. And if you can find the time, I would encourage you to go back into the archives and listen to every podcast on spiritual values. In doing so, you will come to see how the following revelation is true. And this is one I encourage you to bookmark and to share. Your spiritual values are the most critical factors in the transformation process. To wit, the only way you can progress your quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life is if, and only if, you consistently upgrade your spiritual values. And this is why Imprudence and amorality are so deadly. For by eliminating your spiritual values, they eliminate the most critical factors in your spiritual growth. And the man who is not growing in the spirit is dying in his soul. Now, seeing as we have encountered the breaking point in the progression of thoughtlessness and rejection, it should be clear that what comes next will be a very difficult course. For now, we are considering the outcome of confusion, which is the deadliest Trojan horse. And thus, that which follows will be a most terrible spiritual force. And so, let's get started. Your understanding of right and wrong. Now, first things first, we must consider the table below to determine the next phase in the progression of death. To wit, we must determine who is working with indecision, for he is the next step. Not only this, but he is the beginning of the phase of transgression, i.e., the willful transaction of sin. That said, the question we should chiefly entertain is this: what degree of contempt joins forces with indecision to incite you to transgress Yahuwah's will? The answer is sure, and I will give you a hint. It is at the heart of every illicit act of sin you will ever commit. Now, if you answered unrighteousness, you're right. As the focal degree of contempt, unrighteousness is at the heart of every illicit act of sin we will ever commit. Well done. Now, like dishonesty and amorality, I had a great deal to say about unrighteousness in times past. And no doubt, none of it was good. For unrighteousness, by simple definition, is the act of doing something you know is wrong. You learned this in End Times 4:15, How Contempt Plagues the Heart, Part 5, which was posted on February 10th, 2025. As always, I encourage you to re-engage that podcast whenever you have the time, for it analyzes your battles with unrighteousness. Now, the same goes for End Times 4:16, How Contempt Plagues the Heart, Part 6, which was posted on February 12th, 2025. It also provides great details concerning your leading battles with unrighteousness. Notwithstanding, you will find your battles with unrighteousness at this juncture to be different than your battles at the first. And this is to be expected, for this is the trend we have noticed from the beginning, and it will continue until the end. Along these lines, your initial battles with unrighteousness were focused on your thought alignment centers. And although this location hasn't changed, what happens at this location does change. Get this. In your prior wars with unrighteousness, you were being incited by this foul spirit to do something you know is wrong. However, this approach is only effective with false Hebrews, pretenders, and fools. And the scenarios we are considering involve true contenders who have unlocked the girdle of truth. Ergo, the enemy will fail early and often with overt attacks of unrighteousness, and he knows this. Therefore, he must take a less direct approach. In effect, he must corrupt your understanding of what is right from what is wrong. Many options for adequate competition. Now, the manner in which the enemy corrupts your knowledge of right and wrong should be cleared by the table below. To wit, indecision is not only teamed up with unrighteousness. Look here. Indecision is also the focal degree of thoughtlessness. Ergo, the enemy corrupts your knowledge of right and wrong by preventing you from considering what is right from what is wrong. And that, my friends, is the essence of thoughtlessness. Facts. Now, that said, you should reconsider a definition for indecision to see how this degree of thoughtlessness works hand in hand with unrighteousness. Once more, please. By definition, indecision is the quality of being unable to make a decision, having great difficulty in coming to a resolution concerning a matter, a wavering between two or more courses of action. Now, there are many key phrases in this definition, and we will use them all to understand how indecision drives the enemy's updated battle strategy for unrighteousness. To begin with, indecision is being unable to make a decision. This begs the question, what are you struggling to decide? The answer is sure. You are struggling to decide what is right from what is wrong. We know this because unrighteousness is designed to compromise your thought alignment centers. Now, you can see this by observing the image to the right. To wit, by compromising your alignment centers, unrighteousness conquers more than one half of your heart. We know this because the one who controls your thought alignment process will also control your decision making process. Not only this, but the one who controls your decision making process will also determine your intentions. And your intentions are the primary source of your actions. Now we are getting warm. For your actions are a reflection of your will. Ergo, the one who controls your actions is in direct control over your will. And as you can clearly see, the path to controlling your will goes through your thought alignment centers. And on this wise, indecision and unrighteousness hold the key. Along these lines, indecision takes advantage of the diversity of thought within your heart. Remember, your heart at this juncture will receive thoughts from your mind that conflict with what you believe. Now, in most cases, we will follow what is in our heart. And as you would expect, the enemy knows this. Therefore, seeing as he cannot turn you against your heart, he must turn your heart against you. Here is how. Indecision is only effective in a scenario where you are halted between two opinions, i.e., options, which suggests that there is a similar measure of value in both options. Else, you would not find it difficult to decide. Ergo, all the enemy has to do is find one option that you value to the point where it can rival the truth. As I say, it doesn't need to be of greater value than the truth. It just needs to be adequate competition to the truth. And should you reach this juncture in the progression of death, The enemy will have many options for adequate competition. All the chaos is returning. Now, these things being what they surely are, the question of the hour is quite simply this: how did you get to the point where anything comes close to the value of the truth within your heart? The answer is sure. It's because you progressively devalue the truth as you continue in the progression of death. Ergo, by the time you descend to the plane of indecision, your feelings about the truth will have changed drastically. We know this because the feelings in your heart were corrupted by insanity and dishonesty, i.e., the first phase in the progression of thoughtlessness and rejection. My dear friends, we are now in the third phase, and now more than 90% of your heart has been compromised. Here again, you can see this by observing the image to the right. No doubt, this is an environment where indecision and unrighteousness can thrive. Remember, indecision is having great difficulty in coming to a resolution. My dear friends, you must remember the lessons I taught you concerning the makeup of your heart. Vis-a-vis, you must remember that your heart, in its primal state, is very volatile and chaotic. And thus, it took a great work for you to establish order amidst all the chaos. But now, due to the progression of deception, all the chaos is returning, and your heart is once again taking on a very volatile nature where indecision can thrive. Now, here lies the problem. To wit, a heart that is ultra conducive for indecision will be ultra conducive for unrighteousness. Here is why. It is much easier to do something you know is wrong if you struggle to appreciate that it is wrong. Now, let me tell you something. There is a difference between knowledge and appreciation. To wit, you can know something is wrong, i.e., conceptually, and at the same time, you can fail to appreciate why it is wrong, i.e., analytically. Not only this, but you can also fail to appreciate the consequences of your actions. My dear friends, that is called imprudence, a deadly marker you just passed that set the stage for you to fall quarry to unrighteousness. Here is how. Imprudence reinstates a morality in your heart, and in doing so, they eliminate all your spiritual values. In effect, you will forfeit all your principles and your boundaries, which will make all things lawful for you. That includes unrighteousness. All you need is for the Ruach of deception to give you a good reason to hesitate at the path that is good, so that indecision can make his move. Now, the $1,000,000 question is, how can the Ruach of deception give you a good reason to hesitate at the truth? The answer is sure. It is because they are pushing the delusions within your mind into your heart. And delusions by nature are built to combat the truth. For a delusion is something you believe is true and want to be true, even though it is certainly not true. Notwithstanding, because you want it to be true, the delusions of your mind have the power to combat the truth in your heart. Not only this, but imprudence and amorality have created the uneven playing field required for your delusions to win these battles. Here lies another problem. To wit, once your delusions overcome the truth, they will maintain their dominion within your heart. For, as you have learned, a delusion is a fixed false belief. Ergo, they will become fixed in your heart the same way they have been fixed within your mind. And yet, somewhere in your inner heart, i.e., your heart of hearts, you will know what is true. The problem is you are no longer in control. Remember, your thoughts, decisions, and intentions have all been conquered. And this, my friends, is how indecision fixes you on the path of unrighteousness. This is how he ensures that you persistently do what you know is wrong without fully appreciating that what you are doing is wrong. This is the impact of indecision and unrighteousness. And yet, the damage of thoughtlessness is not finished. The damage of thoughtlessness is not done. Now, here is the final word. The only way to win a fight is to always do what you know is right. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, this is one of the easiest lessons you will ever learn. To wit, the quickest path to victory in spiritual warfare lies within the path of righteousness. Therefore, seeing how simple this is, the enemy will do his very best to make things complicated for you. And the only way you will ever defeat him is by holding firm and fast to what is true. Heretofore, I recommend ask the Father to open your eyes to see the truth of every matter. And when your enemies come looking for a fight, stand on the truth and see them scatter. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on today's lesson. And if you have any questions, please submit them using the form at pinnacleofholiness.com. And I will respond to you as soon as I can. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 574, The Impact of Thoughtlessness and Rejection, Part 4. And the next podcast is entitled, A Detailed Account of the Torah of Yahushua Messiah, Part 7. I will post this podcast on Friday, January 30th, 2026. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim, continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.